Good morning. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Christine. It's a lovely day, a bit windy, but still a bit cooler too, which is nice. Hi, Philippa. Good morning. Hope you've all had a great weekend. Mine was extremely busy this week. Book signing and my granddaughter's dance show, which was epic, and I cried, as usual. All little stars, they were fabulous. So I hope you've all had a good weekend, keeping cool and well hydrated. Hi, Andreen. So we've got a good few on now, so I shall start. Where to start? Right. Good morning, Gail. So the card I made that everybody liked with the pull out hidden sentiment. I'm going to show you how to do it with any stamp set that you've got of Julie's. So I thought I'd do two birds, one stone, and instead of doing this one again, because once you've seen it made and how to do it, then you'll be able to do your own versions of it. I also made another one, which I'll show you later, using the same method. So I thought I'd make this one today because I really liked making this. It was a different way to colour the stamps. And, you know, just something a little bit different, because I do like silhouette stamps. So this way, doing it this way, you can have any of Julie's stamp sets as a silhouette and still emboss them and bring out the images again with any colour embossing powder that you want to use, because this will look great with silver or gold or any of the colours that you've got. Something bright maybe, especially, you know, if you've got the sparkly ones, that would make it look really nice, the sparkly embossing powders. Morning, Brian. Morning, Vanessa. Hi, Jeanette. So these are what I'm going to use for this one. I might vary it a little bit. I think I'm going to make I need a thank you card, so I'm going to turn it into a thank you card. Never seem to have enough thank you cards. So this one, this square pulls out. Just in the same way that this flower pulled out. So anything can be adapted. So I thought I'd do two birds, one stone, do this and show you how to do that as well. So for this, I'm going to be using Floral Delights, Postage and More, and the sentiment from Peter's Heleniums to put on the little pull-out part inside. I'm also going to be using the banner stamps and also the dies which correspond with the banner stamps. So I do have one ready, but that's what I'll be using for it. So let's move these out of the way and crack on. So first thing I want to do really is create the background. So I'm just going to stand that up there so I can see where I'm going. If it'll stand up, that is. So I'm going to create the background, and for that, for the whole of the card, I'm using Stormy Sky and Peel Paint. Okay, and I've got a little bit of acetate with a piece of washi tape across the top so I can find it on my desk. So it's pretty easy to do the background. It's only an inky one, so it's a little bit of green. This one's quite juicy, so I may not need as much as that. I'll grab a tissue ready and some water. So I do only want it as a background. I don't want it too dark. But I think I might be going to add some stencil into this one just to make it look a bit different. So I don't want that massive thing there, so I'll wipe that off. Put that down and just give it a spread. I want it quite spread out because I want to be able to see it from behind the little things that we're putting on. So dry it off. I like these little dots that's on it, so I'm going to keep them. I'm just going to press those dots in and not do too much more to it with the green. And then I'm going to get the blue and do exactly the same thing. There we are. This card that I'm using is just super smooth. We're not putting too much water on it, so it can take it. So, and then just squeeze and spread it out if you want it to have that sort of watercolour soft look, rather than all the little dots and blobs that you're left with all at once. Then you can also put the blobs and the dots down just to give you a little bit more interest. So that is the background. I'm just going to give it a little dry because I think I'm going to put some stenciling on this one. So just a quick dry for it. Morning, Jenny. You're not late, darling. It's all right. Don't worry. I've only put a little bit of ink on a bit of card. Doesn't take long to dry this. Always give the other side a dry as well, so it evens itself back out again. So, like I said, I'm going to put a little bit. Most of this is covered, so I do want it to be a little bit interesting in the background. So I've chosen. I think I'm going to go with the stars. I do love the stars. And I'm going to put a bit of the stars, not too much, on top of where the green ink is. There. I want the little stars on it more than anything. So gently, a little bit of green, just to show up in the background. I'm going to put a little patch there too. As I've got a bit of darker ink there, I think I'll just go a little bit darker. There we are, you can still see them. And then I'm going to give it a wipe. And go in with the blue down the blue area at the bottom. And it just gives just that little bit more interest, I feel. This one's quite a dry pad, so I don't want too in your face. I just want it there. I just want to be able to see it. And you can. So I'll put a few there as well. Don't matter if it goes over the green. It's just a little bit more. Just a little bit of interest. So, we will need those again in a minute. I'm just going to put this to one side to dry while we get on with the actual panels. So, we need... You can stamp straight on this if you want, and you can do your masking off and all. But I've chosen this time to put the actual stamped images on a panel and mount them on top to give them a little bit more dimension. So obviously, as you can see, we need 2 of those and 4 of the little square ones. They're all ready and they're done over there. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So I've stamped it out and I've just cut round it. I didn't use my trimmer, I used a pair of scissors, because you've almost got a line there that you can follow to cut with your scissors. And I'm not a great scissor user, but I've managed to do it. And then I measured the inside of that and cut myself a panel to put on there as well. Okay, so we need to colour this. And I'll just bring in my messy mat, and we need to do some stamping as well. So I think I'll do the stamping first. Now this mat is just a cheap silicone mat I got from, I think it was Amazon. It helps when I'm doing the wax seals. You can peel them off really, really easy. So what I decided to do was buy 2, and I've cut one up to go in there. Because sometimes when your piece of card is really small, you can't put these things on to keep them on and stamp at the same time, because they just get in the way. And especially if you're embossing, you think that you're just going to move it and you're never going to get it back in place again. So what I tend to do is keep it in the corner like that. And then I'll know for when I'm doing the embossing, it'll be in the right place. But I found a good way to do it, because this is silicone and nothing sticks to it, is get yourself a couple of sticky dots, pop them on the back, and then you don't need to use your magnets because it sticks, but you can also take it off, so it's not going to move any. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is pull out the stamp I need. which for this is the little one in the corner there. Super cute this is. I love these little ones. So, it's not very clean, but we'll put the stamping on anyway. So it's on. It's not moving anywhere. Pick it up, and then we can stamp it. And I'm going to leave it in the same place because I now know when I come to do the embossing part, it will be in the right place. So it's going right up into the corner, and we're just going to stamp it onto there. Fairy fingers. There we go. Leave it, don't touch anything. Peel that one off. In fact, you can work on this now. While it's inside on your silicone mat, and you're not making your foam pad underneath dirty, and you're not wasting paper by putting papers in to catch all the dirt, you know, the extra inks that you're not using around it when you're stamping. So it keeps it clean. So I'm just going to dry that because I do need it dry. Okay, I'll check it's dry by pressing on it. Nothing's come off, so we're all good. So the next thing I want to do is colour the top half of this blue and the bottom half green, which kind of echoes what you've done on the card background part. So I've got some, I don't want it too dark, so I'm going to start off and just bring it on and come down. Oh, so she's done it the wrong way round. It doesn't matter, I've got one ready done now. Let's see. Should be blue at the top, Tracy, not green. So we're going blue at the top to echo kind of like the sky. Bring it down as far as you want, roughly about halfway. And then we've got green for the bottom. I'm going to darken the top up, I think. And that way you won't see the little bit of green that I put on. See? There we are. Okay. So you can peel that one off now and leave that to one side to dry. I'll bring in the other one so that you can, I'll put a bit of more blue on it because I was going to go over this one, but this one's already dry, so from before. As I said, I think I need a new Stormy Sky pad. You always need something, don't you? There we are. There we go. So, now, because this is silicone, you can just get yourself a wet cloth or a baby wipe or something and just wipe it off. Again, no mess. Really handy little tip that. I love this mat. And it was dirt cheap. I think it was only about £2. So, that's those. Now, the dry one, what we're going to do now is, I'll use this again, is get a Sharpie, and we're just going to carefully colour using a Sharpie to make it look like it is a silhouette stamp. Okay. Let's go around each one, and the leaves as well. Sharpies, as you know, dry really quickly, so that's handy. You don't have to wait for a long time for it to dry. By the time you've finished the whole thing, everything will be dry, but we can check with a bit of card, a bit of paper. It's all right. You could have. It's all right, Pam. You could have just watched it on catch up, honey. I haven't really missed much. I've only stamped and coloured one panel, really, and a bit of the background. That's the beauty of being able to watch it again and again on Julie's YouTube channel. But it is quite a cute way of colouring in. And you don't have to be too perfect, really. So if some of your stamping is a bit awry, you know, or you've got a double image, or, you know, you don't need to throw it away now. You can just colour it in black and then go over the top and emboss it with a different colour. And then you've not wasted anything. There we are. Not the neatest ever, but hey ho. So just check it's dry. There we go. Now, if you're not inclined to use your mat again and you was going to do it freehand, you know, all you've got to do really is give your stamp a wipe lay it on. Now with this one, as I said, it's a bit easier because you've got room to put them on, but with the small ones you don't. So I've kind of lined it up, and you know what, I don't even mind if it doesn't line up straight, because it just then makes it look like a shadow in the background, the black part. So it's really kind of cool for that, this technique. Pick it up, and then I'm going to go over this just to make sure it's dry, and then I'm going to heat emboss with the old wow. So very dirty pad. This is my dirty pad. As it's going on to black, it doesn't really matter that it's dirty. So pop it down, and I should be able to see, you probably can't, but I will be able to see the shininess and see where that's lined up. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I've missed a little bit on the top there, so I'll go in again. And then all we need is the white embossing powder and something to catch it with. There we are. A little bit of powder on. Tap off what you don't need. Make sure you've got it all. Yeah, I've yet to try this with gold or silver or even platinum. I think that would be quite nice actually. So I'll just move this off, and we can emboss this. It doesn't take long, and I've done all the others in exactly the same way. Excuse the noise. Get your gun good and hot. And then you can emboss it. There we go. And then it ends up, if you can see that, with your nice white outline. And the bit that you've missed, if you haven't quite lined it up, well, that just looks like a shadow. So I'm happy with that. So we have all the bits we need now. And now we just need to pop this on the back of here. Using, I think, some dimensionals on the back, just to give it a little bit more pop up, and then we can go on with the cutting of the hidden part, the little hidden part. So let's pop that on there as straight as we can. There we go. So now we have it. So bring in, I'm going to need a small cutting mat, I think. One of my messy ones will do to cut, because I'm going to use a knife. So on the back of here I have some foam pads. Again, I want it lifted up. Thanks, Julia. It does look like a shadow, doesn't it? But I mean, imagine if you've got lots and lots of different coloured Sharpies, like everybody has, or you know, whatever you've got, pen-wise. You could, pro markers, I guess you could do it with that as well, and colour them in and go over the top of it again. Just something different, isn't it? You know, I don't even know where I first saw this. I can't even think about it. I've done it before, a long time ago, when I really wanted to make a stamp, a silhouette. But yeah, I quite like the idea of it. Hiya, Joan. Thank you for joining us. I'll just pull all the backs off and then it will be easier. Now, I've got the backs of 3 of them with foam pads on, of these little ones. But I've got one that doesn't have anything on it at all, and that's the one we're going to use as the pull out. So that one has no foam packs on the back of it. So here we go. I want you to set it up and put it on using the 2 large ones first. Get them on as straight as you can. And then use your ones with foam pads on and set them out. So 2 there, and the last one with foam pads is going up there. Now this one is the one we want the hidden panel in. and we know it's going to go about there. So what we need to do is take a knife or a pair of scissors or something, whatever you use to cut with, and cut in here just a hole there. Now this hole depends on the size of, this is huge. I mean, I've just gone over the top. You don't need it this big, but this is what's going to go behind there. So we know it's going to be about 3 centimetres, the hole we need to cut. Okay, so sort of, you can always make it bigger if you need it to be bigger. So about 3 centimetres, but we don't want it to be bigger than that. You know, we don't want to put a hole, otherwise you'll see it top and bottom. Okay, and then we just make sure that this will go through it, and it won't. So obviously I didn't do 3 centimetres, so I've cut a little bit longer. You'll not see this. This doesn't get seen. So your strip can be as wide as it needs to be. Now that will go in there, no problem at all. So what I suggest you do then is, this is going to go on the very end, but we're not going to glue the whole thing down. We're only going to glue it, or as I've done here, foam pad it to the very end. We want this part to be free, and you'll see why in a minute, because it helps with lining up. So what I've done is I've put that on the end of it, and I've drawn a line where it's going to sit. So now I know where I can put my little hidden sentiment. So I have it lined up here. It says, just wanted to say, and it's really handy, this. And I said it's from Peter's Heleniums. So I'm just going to make sure it's inked up. Don't press too hard. I want it to come about there. So there we go. Just wanted to say is written on here. And now we can pop this inside. Just make sure it's dry first. Don't want to smudge it. Yeah. So pop it in, and you, as you can see, it's way too big. It's way, way, way too big. But I'm going to pop this where I need it to be, and then I'm going to stick this down on here. So I know that that is lined up exactly where I want it to be. So that when you pull it out, it comes out no problem, and you can see the words. I hope I'm explaining this right to you in ways you can understand, because it is fairly easy. So now, obviously, on the back here, we've got way too much stuff. Yeah, way too much. So find out where your sentiment is, where it finishes, and just give it a trim to there. Now we don't want it to go right to the very end and cut and meet up with that end, because we're going to put some foam tape on it to actually adhere it down onto your card. So there's nothing stopping this from, when you pull it now, coming straight out, and we don't want that. So what we need to do is get a little thin strip, any size, it doesn't matter, and we're going to put that, as long as it's wider than this sort of slit you've put in there, and we're going to glue that onto the back of there. You can put hot glue on if you want, or whatever, you know, but we'll put that onto there. And while that is drying, we will put the foam pieces on that we need to put on, if I can find them. Oh, here they are. So I've got strips of these. These are long, thin strips. I've used up all of my strips from Studio Light, and I don't mind buying these, because these thin strips, rather than using cardboard, they're handy for when you're doing a shaker card, you know, because you can move them round corner, you know, so you can sort of put them round a rounded shape. There we are. So I'm using one which is quite thin, and it will go down the side there without bothering too much this strip. We don't want that to get caught on anything at all. So I'm going to go right round them all 4 sides. There we are. And that's that. So now we just need to check, make sure that we can see when we pull this out. We can see what it says. And then the other thing I want to do is just remove that line with a rubber. Then I'll put the pencil mark there. We don't want that seen. That gives away how we did it. Here we are. And then the reason why we only glued it to the very end part of that strip at the back is because then we can position it where we want. You know, if you'd have glued it straight down, all the way down, it would only go into there. So you only have to glue on the very edge. Okay, so that's that. And it's not catching on anything, it's not reaching the end. We're good to go. We can put it on the card now. So let's find my card base. Here we are. And it's going to go on there. It's not as difficult as it looks, is it really? Once you know how to do it, you're going to look at all your stamp sets completely differently and think, I can do it with that one. I can do it with that one. You know, you can do it with all of them. A nice little, and I suppose on the front part you could put a little tab with an arrow just peeking out behind so they know where they've got to pull. Or put a post-it note in it when you send it and tell them to try and find the hidden message. So yeah, that would be quite a fun thing to do. So that's it, they're all off. Make sure it's straight. There we are. Get it on your card base as straight as you can. And you will see that it does work perfectly, okay? Now, the only other thing you need to do with this is really glam it up with some glossies or whatever you want to do. And I'm going to use this as a thank you. So when you pull this out, it says, I just wanted to say thank you. Okay, so I'm going to glue this. I've stamped it in black. I've used the, I think I'll put it, do you want to, you can just, see, I could mess about for ages with this, but I think I'm going to put it there. Okay. There we are. So that now says, thank you. Just wanted to say thank you. So that's one. Let me move this messy mess out of the way. Okay, there's one. As you saw, the other one, completely different stamp set. This one was using all of the little stamps that I'd cut out for previous things and never used, so that was a good thing. I think that's Emma's Christmas ones. These are Julie's medley stamps and leaves, and the thank you profile die, which is one of my favourites. But then I thought, why not do it with that? Remember that really big stamp that Julie had out? It's I've got it here so I can find you the name. I can never remember the names of any of them. Sadly, I have a little book, and as I make the card, I write it in the book what I've used, and then a note for when I'm putting it on Facebook. I've got a list. This one's Blooming Bouquet. Okay, so all of the stamps on the Blooming Bouquet one, there isn't really a full one where I wanted this to be a full one. We could have used this one and pulled it from there, but I wanted a really big one, so I used one of the ones from the Papercraft medley. And for this, I used, for the little Just For You, which I thought was really cute, I used Philippa's Dotty About You, the little part, just one of the stamps on the bottom, and it was absolutely perfect. So that then, even though it's not part of this stamp set, goes and sits on the top there. So, and I haven't even coloured that one, and do you know what, I think that's actually my favourite out of all of them. There's not even any colour with that one. Monochrome, there we go. So, I did find one other tip that I wanted to share with you, and I thought it was a really good idea. A lot of people say that they can't do fussy cutting, okay? They can't do it. So, I've seen this. It was a lady on Facebook, I think her name was Peach Lee, I don't know. I think it was Peach Lee. Or it could have been the lady from Creatively Yours, not sure. But what she did was, she said, for all those who can't do it, if you get yourself a pencil or a pen, or pencil's better, obviously. I've done it in pen here so you can see it. But when you stamp the stamp down, it's going to stamp like that. That is the way it's going to stamp. So if you use the stamp as a guide and draw around it, it's the perfect shape for your cutting out. And it gives you the line that you need all the way around to go by, because some people can't do it without a line, okay? So that's what it gives you, and that's just using the back of the stamp. And then if you realign the stamp and stamp it in, you'll get this. And then you've got somewhere to cut round that's pretty much even all the way around. So now for me, this part here, which needs to be on the stamp, doesn't need to be there when you cut it. So you can then just draw around yourself freehand and trim that off. And I thought that was a really good tip. It works with most of the stamps that you've got. Just, you know, until you get like used to cutting out, fussy cutting out yourself, it gives you the confidence to do it. So, which I thought was a really good idea. So I thought I'd share it with you. So there you go. I'll put a picture up. Oh, actually, I already put a picture up, didn't I? So I don't really need to put one up to date of what I've just made, because I think I'll put the picture of the three of them up so you get the gist, especially this one because it's my fave. So yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back in 2 weeks with something different, I'm sure. Philippa will be on in the middle, and so will Julie. So I shall see you in 2 weeks, and thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.